Mic check 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. Hello, critical thinkers. Hope all is well. Do me a favor. How does my audio sound? I just want to get that out the way. If the audio sounds cool and crisp, do me a favor. Type a 1 in the chat if the audio sounds good. Do me a favor. Type a 1 in the chat if the audio sounds good. If it doesn't sound good, put a 2 in the chat. That will be greatly, greatly appreciated. I want to thank everyone for being here tonight. Hopefully, everyone had an amazing Thanksgiving, and hopefully, you're able to connect with your loved ones, any of whom are incarcerated during this time. So, this story that I'm going over tonight is actually an older story. I wasn't able to cover this earlier, but I'm covering this now. This broke uh, during the first week of November, and this is in regards to a imam who committed suicide at Marcy Correctional Facility. So this is very, very troubling news. You have an imam, a staff member of Marcy Correctional Facility, brings in a firearm and shoots himself. So what we're going to do tonight is actually go through a couple of stories within that story. We're going over the freelance news article, J.B. Nicholas, covering the unaliving of this imam at Marcy Correctional Facility. And then what we're doing is we're going over the gaslighting that occurred from NYSCOPBA. For those of you who don't know, NYSCOPBA is the Correctional Officer Union in New York State. They are a very powerful union. They control a lot of politicians, very powerful union. And we're going over the gaslighting that occurred after New York State Senator Julia Salazar put out some comments. And the story, in terms of their response, is going to floor you, which doesn't make any sense whatsoever. This is the epitome of gaslighting. So, what we'll do first is go over the article. We're going to be going over J.B. Nicholas's article from the Freelance News. And again, this occurred early November, November 7th to be exact. I'm going to pull up the article now and share my screen. And if you guys can please do me a favor, if you haven't done so already, if you could please like the video, share it, and if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel. It greatly helps with the algorithm. Okay, so here's the article from the Freelance. Here we go. This is religious leader kills himself inside prison where guards murdered Robert Brooks. Civilian imam at the Marcy Correctional Facility shot himself to death. State prison system teeters on brink of catastrophe, guards and prisoners say. Here we go. The civilian Islamic leader at New York's troubled Marcy Correctional Facility killed himself inside the prison this morning. Imam Abdallah Hadian, 55, walked into the prison with a handgun around 8 a.m., strolled into the superintendent's office, sat down behind a secretary's desk, and shot himself in the head. Confidential sources known to the Freelance say. Hadian did it in front of several other civilian workers. Benny Thorpe, the prison superintendent, was not in the office at the time. Marcy's executive team typically arrives after 8 a.m., the source said. One of Imam Hadian's brothers and the state police confirmed his death. He left a suicide note. State police said in a news release. We would not expect this from him, the brother told the Freelance. He was not like that. He was at work the day before. Marcy is where guards murdered Robert Brooks last December. Imam Hadian's death comes a day after the president of the union representing New York prison guards, Chris Summers, warned in an editorial that the state's prison system has reached a breaking point. Quote, Our members are struggling both mentally and physically under a workload and level of stress that are simply not sustainable. Summers warned. Every day brings more stress, more anxiety, and more frustration. Our members are reaching a breaking point, and I'm deeply worried that something devastating could happen if nothing changes. On Friday, after news of Hadian's death broke, the Guards Union's executive board issued this statement. Words cannot express the sorrow and shock that we all feel in this moment. On behalf of NYSCOPBA, we extend our deepest condolences to the family, friends, and every staff member, civilian and uniformed alike, who not only knew and worked alongside this individual, but those that responded in the line of duty or witnessed this heartbreaking tragedy. Meanwhile, men serving time inside New York's sprawling 42 prison system confirmed the union's warning. The system is breaking. Several tell the freelance they stayed calm after Brooks' murder and through the 21-day statewide wildcat strike by guards last winter, because they thought the state legislature would pass new laws allowing merit time credit and other measures that would speed their release from prison. But the legislature has not done that. Now they say they are considering some kind of protest. At the same time, men at one maximum security prison are being encouraged by guards to protest. One said he was told that if they do protest, to make it look good for both sides. Imam Hadian had 6 children. He and his family are longtime residents of Syracuse, where they own an auto repair shop. A man who identified himself as Hadian's son at the family's residence Friday evening said his father was very stressed out about work. His father, he said, suffered a stroke several months ago. He just returned to work following a medical leave. Hadian's son was at school when he got the news. Now he said he had to take care of his 5 brothers and siblings. The embattled state agency that operates New York prisons, the Department of Corruption and Criminal Sadists, or DOCCS, confirmed the death. Quote, this morning, a civilian staff member at Marcy Correctional Facility entered the administration building and tragically took his own life with a firearm he produced. Thomas Maley, DOCCS spokesperson, told the Freelance in an email. Staff immediately began life-saving measures, and EMTs and law enforcement were called to respond, Maley revealed. However, due to the injuries, the individual could not be saved. Maley added, our thoughts are with the family of the deceased, the staff at Marcy who witnessed this horrific action, and those who knew and worked with this person. DOCCS did not explain how a worker was able to carry a firearm into the prison. Other prison workers said it was partly because that's what DOCCS wanted them to do. Bring them into the prison for temporary storage inside the facility's arsenal instead of leaving them outside in their cars where they could be stolen. Any worker licensed to carry a handgun was expected to check the weapon at the arsenal, but no measures ensued. Workers were only subjected to random, occasional metal detector searches. The gun check at Marcy ran on the honor system, apparently. Iman Hadian's brother questioned the official account. Quote, they just allow you to walk into prison with a gun. And that is the end of that article. But can you imagine this? And what's supposed to be a secure facility, a civilian brings a firearm into the facility. Now, I'm going to go off a little bit on a tangent. I know some of you may not like it, but that's okay. Now, when we talk about contraband, this fairy tale that the bulk of contraband is brought in by families of incarcerated individuals is absolute malarkey. It's hogwash. There's two economies in these prison towns. One is the economy of the prison itself, in which jobs occur, and also vendors are used, and also the underground economy of smuggling, which is done by staff members who work at these correctional facilities and correction officers. You see a civilian, not even a correctional officer, be allowed to bring a firearm into the facility unchecked. So what do you think happens with fentanyl, with guns, with not with guns, but with drugs and other contraband? So I want to move on to a statement that was made by Julius Salazar. I'm going to read this because this statement this statement sparked some outrage by NYSCOPBA. Why it would spark outrage, I don't know, but the response from NYSCOPBA is very telling and screams and yells of gaslighting and attempting to move away to divert attention away from the main issue to something else. Let's take a look at what Julius Salazar had to say. Here we go. I'm going to read her statement to everyone. By the way, this statement comes from her Facebook account. Senator Salazar on this morning's tragedy at Marcy Correctional Facility. State Senator Julius Salazar, chair of the Committee on Crime Victims, Crime, and Correction, released the following. Quote, I am shocked to hear about the tragedy that took place this morning at Marcy Correctional Facility, in which a civilian ended his own life. My thoughts and prayers are with this individual's loved ones as they grieve this unimaginable loss, as well as to both the staff and incarcerated individuals at Marcy who are affected by his death. My office will continue to be in close contact with docs to offer any needed support and to interrogate why the security team allowed a civilian to enter Marcy with a firearm. It is completely baffling and unacceptable that this could happen in a New York State prison. I am grateful that no bystanders or other individuals were physically injured. Now, do me a favor. If you believe Senator Salazar's comments were offensive, write offensive in the chat. If you believe this comment would be offensive to people who work for docs, if you believe there's nothing wrong with the comment, do me a favor, do a thumbs up in the chat, or write fine, F-I-N-E, write fine, or write that this is unacceptable or offensive to you, because nothing in this comment, nothing in this statement seems offensive to me. So I'm completely baffled at the response that NYSCOPBA would give. So let's take a look at an article. This is from the Finger Lake Times. Let's take a look at their reporting on NYSCOPBA's response. Again, this is from the Finger Lakes. NYSCOPBA demands apology. They demand an apology after Marcy suicide sparks controversy. Here we go. New York's Correctional Officers Union is calling for a public apology from State Senator Julia Salazar after her comments about last week's suicide of a longtime civilian staff member at Marcy Correctional Facility. The absolute epitome of gaslighting. Let's continue on. In a statement issued Saturday, the Executive Board of NYSCOPBA, New York State Correctional Officers and Police Benevolent Association, condemned the senator's immediate reaction to the incident, calling her remarks reckless and uninformed. Absolute, absolute gaslighting. Talk about dodging the issue, refusing to take any kind of accountability. According to the union, the chaplain, a 20-year veteran of the Department of Corrections and Community Supervision, DOCCS, took his own life on Friday inside the administrative building. Staff reportedly witnessed the act, rushed to render aid, and attempted to save his life. Senator Salazar, who chairs the Senate's Crime Victims Crime and Correction Committee, questioned how a civilian was able to enter the facility with a firearm and suggested negligence by security staff. She pledged to interrogate the security team. NYSCOPBA says the senator's response deflects blame and ignores existing policies. DOCCS policy does not require staff, including civilian employees, to pass through magnetometers, the statement said. Entry, entry screenings include clear plastic bags and random searches. Procedures the union says are in place because of chronic staffing shortages. Here's where you see the gaslighting, blaming it on staffing shortages. That's not the case at all. Let's continue on. Quote, this is not leadership. This is scapegoating, the union's board wrote, arguing that systemic issues like legislative underfunding, reduced staffing, and limited mental health resources enabled the tragedy. The union says Salazar and other lawmakers should be focused on improving wellness programs and addressing critical vacancies inside state prisons. They're demanding an apology for what they called an effort to weaponize a tragedy to score political points. Now, in my opinion, her statement was 1,000% common sense. How in the world does a civilian, enter a prison with a firearm that easily? Below is a full statement from State Senator Julia Salazar. Here, I'm going to read this statement first now. Quote, when correctional officers murdered Robert Brooks at the same prison, a civilian managed to bring a loaded gun into and use it to end his own life. NYSCOPBA members chose that moment to walk off their jobs and deflect. It is no surprise that they are now responding in this manner after another man's death at Marcy. Instead of taking this moment to reflect on what could have prevented this tragedy, NYSCOPBA is attacking me as chair of the Corrections Committee for accurately recognizing that a man was allowed to bring a loaded gun into a prison. That is what happened, and nothing they say can change that. To be clear, I did not name or attack NYSCOPBA at any point in my statement. The news here should be that a man tragically took his own life inside of a state government facility, and understanding why that happened. As a lawmaker, it's part of my job to ask how this happened, which is what I'm doing. That's my job, and NYSCOPBA is essentially telling me not to ask questions. This is what we have as the epitome of gaslighting, deflection, placing blame on others, and accusing other people of what you're doing yourself. The lack of accountability, this is not surprising. We should not be surprised by this, but the world needs to see this and be aware. This news story of this suicide should have made bigger headlines than what it did. So if y'all could please do me a favor, please share this stream. Share it on your social media, like the video so that the algorithm picks that up, because this story did not get enough press that it should have. It did not get enough press that it should have. Absolutely not. So, I want to just end the stream. I want to thank everyone for being here. Again, hopefully everyone had a great Thanksgiving. Please do me a favor one last time, like the stream, share it. Feel free to comment. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel. I'm doing another live stream in about 10 minutes. I'm covering the beating of an incarcerated individual at Wendy Correctional Facility. I'm gonna put that link in the chat now. So if you have time, come on over in 10 minutes. I'm gonna be going over the beating that occurred at Wendy Correctional Facility and how his wife is attempting to get him justice and trying to get him transferred out. So as I say in all of my streams, my goal is to go deeper than what the mainstream media is telling and sharing with you. So take care, God bless, and I'll see you next time.